Today's story takes place when I think I was 19. It was one of my most memorable fishing days. Okay, so I was working at this place. I had a coworker. When he found out that I was a fisherman, he starts taking me fishing all the time. And this is up around the Escondido area and North County. And he knew all these spots that I had no idea were there. He was taking me to these little streams and these little ponds, and did a lot of bass fishing. And we had some good bass fishing out there. Well, one day, I'm at work, and he's like, "You want to go fishing on Saturday?" I said, "They're stocking Lake Dixon." I'm like, "I'm there." So I go to his house and I go in, and he picks me up, and we drive off to the lake. Yeah, we drive up there's this little hill that goes up the hill, we park, and he says, "We're heading out to the other side of the lake." He goes, "We're going to go over to Whisker Bay." Now this is like maybe a 10 or 15 acre lake, man-made reservoir, and it's elevated. It's up in these hills, and there's this dam. You're like, why'd they put it there? But it's beautiful. And the campground overlooks the city, and it's just gorgeous. And I've camped up there many times. I even lived right next to it at one time. And we get there, and I'm following him on this trail around the lake. And there's lots of people there. And we're passing by, and I'm just following him. And we get all the way around the lake, and he gets we get to Whisker Bay, and we go around Whisker Bay, this little like at the point. And then it heads almost a straight line to the dam. We're waiting. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And we're waiting, starting to wonder. Now, this was the first time I'd ever seen the stock truck. And pretty soon, you could hear it coming up the hill. And he's like, "That's it, that's it." And he's excited, so I'm excited. And we're waiting, and finally we see him over on the other side where you enter, and we see this truck. And I'm like, "That's weird looking. It looks like a water truck. It's got the big round container on it." And he comes down, and he disappears behind a bluff, and you see him again, and then he gets to this gate it's closed off to the public, and some guy gets out and unlocks it, and then he goes down, all the way down to the dam, and then he turns and he crosses the dam, and he comes over to our side, and he gets there, and he turns around right at the dam is where they stock, I guess. It was like a cement landing zone, and he backs up, and all of a sudden he hits this valve, and you see all this water gushing. He's probably 150 yards downshore, and you can see the trout, in this stream of water, and you can hear it slushing into the lake. There's all these trout. Well, he's there for about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. He shuts the thing off. They get in and they start leaving. He drives off, and he's like, "Watch this." So we're watching, and you could see the water quaking. And I swear I heard that music from Apocalypse Now. Dun 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 dun. And pretty soon you could see the little wakes and the ripples coming and getting closer and closer. And that's when I realized, and my buddy, his name was Art, he knew exactly what he was doing. He put us right on the pole position. We were the first ones to encounter these fish coming in. And there were people all in the little bay there, and they were going to have to wait because we're getting first. So we got our poles, and we got little white rooster tails. We both got a white rooster tail, and pretty soon you could see these fish just darting everywhere. And we're out. And he told me, he goes, "You never know what they're going to do. They're not in feeding mode. It's they're more angry and agitated than anything, but they'll bite out of like anger almost, like agitation." So we start getting into them, every 2 or 3 casts. And then pretty soon, you know, all the other guys are starting to catch them too, and you hear them talking about it, and you know, a lot of ruckus and everything. And we're just having the time of our life here. And that's not the story. Here's the story. About a year later, I'd left home, and I lived in my car for a while. I was in my van. I was like the original van life guy. And there was no internet back then. Back then, if they had vlogs, I probably would have had a really successful vlog because I lived in my van. But I ended up renting a room from a guy I worked with, doing temporary work. I met him on the job, and he living in this guy's place, and I got a job at 7-Eleven. I used to ride my bike there, but he had a moped he'd let me use sometimes. And somehow or another, I found out that they were going to be stocking the lake again. And I was in between jobs, and there was a number you called. They didn't have the internet back then, at least not to the public. And I don't think they had internet yet. So there was a number you call. I must have called the number and found it. They were stocking it on a Wednesday. So I take this guy's moped and I take my gear, and there I am, riding clear across town, Escondido, California, with a fishing pole and my tackle box and my ice chest, and I didn't take a chair that time, but I got it all lashed into my moped, and I get up to the lake, and there's this pretty windy little road that takes you up to the lake. And I start up. It was just like in Dumb and Dumber when they were on the mini bike holding up traffic. That's me. And I get up to the lake, and I lock the moped to a stump or a fence or something. And I go the same path. I go down to the same spot that Art took me to like a year before. Okay? It's during the middle of the week. There's nobody there. There might have been like 3 or 4 people fishing. I don't even think they knew about the stock day. So I get down around the lake, and I go to Whisker Bay, and I walk around Whisker Bay, and I get down to the same spot that he took me to, and I do the same drill. I'm just sitting there, waiting, starting to wonder if he's even going to show up. Grab a sandwich, open the soda, waiting. Pretty soon I hear the truck coming up the hill again. He's coming. And pretty soon I see him, and he does the same thing. He opens the gate, goes across, and I see the fish coming out, and I see the same thing. They're boiling. They're coming at me. And that was the stuff that dreams are made of. Because I had the whole place to myself. There was nobody in the bay. There was nobody. And I sat there all day long. Fish after fish after fish after fish. Now, I didn't do a count that day. I have some videos I'm doing of my top counts, how many fish I caught. I can't include this one because I didn't count them, but it must have been in the rankings. I stayed there until the fish moved on, and I started going around to the bay, and I fished all day, kind of following them, and I just fished to my heart's content. I had a field day. And it ranks, though, as one of the best day of fishing I ever had. I didn't have Trout Slayer, my original pole, and I don't know what I had back then. That was like 10 years before I bought that pole. But I just had a field day that day. I never forgot that. I sit and think about it all the time. And that was one of the best day of fishing that I ever had.